get you a perspective now with regards to our breaking news that DA leader Mmusi Maimane, former DA leader, has now resigned, not only from the party, but also Parliament. What does this mean for not only the party, but him? Let's bring in Mzwandile Mbeje. He's our acting political editor. Mzwai, we saw this coming, didn't we?
Of course we did. In fact, we thought it was going to be done yesterday. So somehow that dragging, it did indicate that there was a bit of horse trading. So that's why the statement came in the format in which it did. But I mean, after this, and I think the fallout after his statement forced him to go.
When do you think he made up his mind about this, though? Do you think he was still unsure yesterday?
He was very sure yesterday, Blaine. Remember, when he attended the press conference of Herman Mashaba, that was the clearest statement. I mean, you can't go to someone who is berating your party, who's saying all sorts of things about your party, and then you praise that person as your hero. He had made up his mind. I think he just wanted to get the formalities out of the way.
Right.
And even his press conference yesterday was supposed to be at 1. And then we understand that because there was a lot of persuasive talks to say perhaps let him stay until the early Congress. So that kind of horse trading. So delayed some of this. So it means even his original statement had to be done in a way that would accommodate some of those talks. But in the end, he had made up his mind. That is why he has simply followed it up with this one. I mean, even in that statement yesterday, Blaine, there was a very interesting paragraph there when he basically said, the reason I'm leaving because the DA is no longer the vehicle that is ready to take the vision of one South Africa forward. And then how can you then lead when you basically say this car is a Skoro, but you still want to drive it? No, you won't.
You're right, exactly.
Basically.
Look, when you look at the optics of that press briefing yesterday, you had Mmusi Maimane give me a few smiles here and there. You had in the background Helen Zille. When the camera caught her a few times, her eyes were closed, taking this deep breath. When you put that all together, do you think Mmusi Maimane is comfortable with the decision he has taken?
I think he is relieved. I think he is relieved because I think he had had enough. Remember, Mmusi Maimane was trying his best, but I think his best, he could see that his best was not good enough. When his own party drafts a report and the report says you are indecisive and inconsistent, so you have to step aside. And then a few days later, so there is a leader that needs to be appointed, so your own ally gets rejected. So Mmusi Maimane knew that the party had rejected him. I mean, the core constituents of the party had rejected him. Helen Zille did not even campaign. She just, at the 11th hour, decided that she's standing for the chairperson of the Federal Council. And then Athol Trollip had been campaigning for the past 2 months or so. And then it was more like a foregone conclusion that he was taking this post, but it couldn't.
But I guess some of the pushback that Mr. Maimane would get is that you say you believe in this one South Africa vision so strongly. Why didn't you stay in and fight?
You know, I think Mmusi Maimane, when he was elevated, so he didn't pay enough attention to the actual structure of the DA, because it would appear that the core structure of the DA wouldn't allow someone who simply comes and then gets on without understanding the intricacies of what the DA, the fundamentals of the DA are. But of course, he had been elevated to be the leader, so it was good for him. But when he didn't do well in the 2019 elections, that's when those rumblings, that's when those things started to come out. I mean, even Helen Zille, Blaine, I mean, she was always there. Even when she was told to shut up, she still couldn't. And they couldn't do anything to her. Why? Because those who are who call themselves the real owners of the DA were still in charge.
Well, they had an historic election back in 2016 where they picked up Nelson Mandela Bay, Johannesburg, as well as Tshwane. But I guess that wasn't enough to carry that momentum forward towards 2019. When you look at Mmusi Maimane and where he is at the moment, What's the next step for him?
Well, for him, and I suspect two things. If he is able to convince a good number of people, they perhaps could be tempted to form a liberal party, which they believe in. But if he feels he's convinced, and perhaps his research tells him that he would have sufficient support, I think that's one option.
Look, okay, carry on. I'll get to my point.
The second one, for me, here is a person who may feel seriously bruised by this politics thing. He may simply go back to what he was doing before all of this.
What was he doing before all of this?
He's a pastor.
Right, okay.
He's going to go back to church.
Okay.
And I mean, that's my inclination. So, but if he feels he's got sufficient support, and then I think he will want to take a shot at setting up a political party.
Go back to the Lord, but he will argue that he never left the Lord. Look, when he talks about the vehicle, that is the DA not being, I guess, conducive enough to take forward this vision of a one South Africa. What does it say about race relations within the party?
This has exposed a big deal of the fractures insofar as race relations is concerned within the party. But you see, what many people are actually arguing is that, but Mmusi Maimane knew about this. It's just that at the time, it served him. So he then turned a blind eye. So then it's going to be very difficult for the DA to say it believes. In fact, that's why perhaps that will be our next point of discussion. That's why I believe that the next person who will take over, even in the interim, so they would have to look for a black person. And I think someone like the mayor of Midvaal, so who is very competent. I mean, the results show for themselves in the Midvaal area. So it's probably young, very vibrant. It's probably the person who will be the next in line. But whether that person gets elected in the Congress is something else. But I think they will try to say, actually, we have no problem with black people. It's just that perhaps you, Mmusi Maimane, failed in 2019, so we have to judge you according to what you did.
Look, the story is a fast-moving story, and no doubt we're going to get all the angles covered right here on the SABC. But Mzwandile, thank you very much indeed for coming through and giving us your perspective. That was our acting political editor, Mzwandile Mbeje.